My name is Mudassar. I'm working in the MobiCash team. The question that we had is was that you showed a lot of images in the wireframes, but most of the people are using lower-end phones, right? And their screen sizes are small. So this means essentially the user will have to, scroll down, and sometimes the images will be twisted, and the icons will go down. So what did we have some research, or did you?
We actually tested on a $30. Excuse my language, but like pretty crappy Android phone that sold. It's like the most popular low price point phone sold here in Pakistan.
Yeah, we have the Q Mobile Noor. You should have seen the look on that shopkeeper's face when I asked for the cheapest phone he has.
He was trying to sell us like a $400 Android phone. We were like, no, we want your cheapest phone. Okay. He was like, no, you don't. Why would you buy that?
Yeah.
So we tested.
$15 phone to you for $30.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
but we were testing on a really low, a low-end phone, and it tested fine.
Well, I think when the design elements here were big enough that if you shrunk them down to fit the screen, they're still legible. The other approach would be that things stay the same size and you have to scroll more. I think further testing would give support of what is the right choice, but scrolling is not a problem unless it's important features that are being hidden, and because this idea of saliency, we want people to really know what is available. So the home screen, you want to keep as much visible as possible. The only things that are below the bottom of the phone in our design was the log out and the get help button.
Hi.
This is Saad from JazzCash team. I want to know what was the response of focus group on this agent help concept. Did they find it useful?
So let me clarify, we did no focus groups. So all of our research is in-depth individual interviews. I just want to make it very clear on methodology because I'm a methodology person. But I'll let Adam speak to the response of people with the virtual assistant.
Yeah, they liked it. We showed it to them and they wanted it. We had a lot of conversations about what it should be called, what the icon should look like. At first we were calling it, the concept started as the virtual agent. We shifted away from that. It was a helper, it was an assistant. So really we kind of landed on this concept that it's someone in the call center. So that icon is what tested best because people recognize that microphone. Oh great, this is...
It's like the headset.
The headset. This is someone in a call center. I know what that means. I know that means help.
We originally had like a question mark there, but people thought that meant we were asking them a question. Not that they could ask a question. So like all of these little stories we have for you, they're anecdotal, but it really highlights how important it is to test every single choice you're making in the app, because the littlest tiny detail has huge implications and potentially huge impact.
And people weren't, as our participants are going through this send money flow, we give them a task. How would you send money to Ali Avan? They would find Ali Avan in the contact list and go through that flow. They weren't necessarily opening up the assistant and being like, oh, okay, now I get it. But there was just a sense that this made them feel comfortable, confident. They knew that there was help there when they needed it. Another anecdote about the icon design is that loudspeaker icon, that megaphone, might look a little awkward, but originally we had like volume icon, speaker icon, and everyone thought that meant I would press it and that would call the call center. So we had to make it as explicit as possible that this is not
it's not a direct line.
It's not a direct line. It's
it will speak to you.
Yeah.
Okay. My another question is regarding the phone book concept of transferring money. You have showed the
contact
recipients.
List?
Yeah, contact list. So isn't that made a bit risky because this is a money transfer transaction? So I might have two similar names in my address book and I want to send it to Hassan, this Hassan, not that Hassan, but I accidentally send it to other Hassan.
He's happy.
So what was your response on that?
So I guess I'm going to ask a question back to you. What makes having to type in the number more secure?
No, like in normal.
Someone prove to me that that's more secure.
In normal transactions, like we do currently in USSD or in apps, we have to put down the account number. So when we are entering it ourselves, there are less chances of error. But when it's given in the address book, there are chances that we might send it to wrong recipient.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So in the flow we showed you, choose the contact, and then you're prompted to enter an account number. So if you're
It's just a suggestion, yeah.
just a,
We could use it.
Okay.
and so
There is a space, so there's a couple things. There's space to type in someone's phone number. There's also then a prompt to type in the account number. You also get like confirmations before you actually send the money. So there's several points, moments in the transaction where you can like abort and go back and fix it. Much more so than in USSD, which is just pushing you along, yeah? So maybe we like in our meeting, we can go through in more detail the flow and we can show you all of the different kind of confirmation points to help highlight what we thought felt like a safer build of a transaction.
Okay.
Yeah.
and you could help us understand the risks as well.
Yeah, for sure. We're not saying this is perfect. Yeah.
It's just wonderful, all the small things that you're telling us. I mean, things like showing the on-screen keypad, it's just wonderful because when you open on a very small phone, the issue that you have is when the Android, its own keypad opens, it hides half of your screen.
Totally.
So it's just very small things that are just amazing. So one question I have is that, I mean, things like adding the virtual assistant, things like having the Urdu, English language, things like finding out whether your friends have done a transaction. What is the impact of all these features on the size of the app? Because, so we are becoming 3G, the data is increasing, but predominantly our customers, our target market is in rural areas where 3G is still not there and it's not going to be there in the next few months. I mean, it will take its own time. So what is the impact of all these features on the browsing speed, and what is the impact of all these features on the actual size of the app? I mean, if the browsing speed is very slow, that is going to
Totally.
be a major experience issue for us.
Yeah, the more graphics you have, the bigger the app is.
No, but will that have impact on the browsing speed as well, or just the download size?
I think that's a technical question depending on how you develop the app.
Yeah.
Yeah, so some teams
Are there
might
some-
decide to have a larger download file, and especially it sort of corresponds to the research. The research showed that most people are waiting to connect to Wi-Fi to do things. So if they're on Wi-Fi, then the download size becomes less of a serious concern, because if you're on Wi-Fi, you're not eating up so much bandwidth, right? It should be secure connection. But you also might decide to have more of like an online loading app. That's a decision you would have to make with your developer team. And again, we're not touching any of the back end
That makes sense.
on this. Yeah,
Thank you.
separate project.
But yeah, also just the memory on the phone. It wasn't until I bought this that I realized you could only put so many things on here before it fills up.
Yeah.
So that's why we, in a lot of our initial ideas, it was using video animations. We walked away from that as much as possible because of that consideration.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the things that we do also consider. I mean, there are lots of issues, there are
Absolutely.
lots of ideas that we did not execute for
Totally.
this very reason.
Yeah, we would love to have video tutorials, but not realistic yet. Maybe in the future. The sonification will require quite a bit of space as well if you have the audio. So it's about trade-offs. You can also choose to use certain features and then not have other features until the 3G, hopefully 4G network is more expensive in the market, yeah? Final question or comment?
This is Hassan from Mobilink. The question I have
You
is...
didn't receive the money because he accidentally sent it to that Hassan. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I don't have the money in my account as well, so it's okay. So my question is that the USSD session, when we do transactions through USSD, we can't enter all the information in one page, so we have to do next and next and next. So the idea of the app is to be quick, fast. You just put all the details in one screen and go. And most of the apps around the world, the financial apps, all the information has been put in the single screen. But now you have suggested that the interaction, you have to enter first the customer name or his number, then the amount and all. So don't you think that this is again this replication of USSD? How customers find it different from usage perspective?
Yeah, so we discussed that a lot. We had two different concepts. Should it be on a single screen? Should it be multiple screens? We tested them both. And going through the single screens was easier for people to manage, and the trade-off of it being slower did not seem like that, didn't really slow people down that much. We had a lot of ideas about maybe you go through single screens the first time or the first 3 times, and then it becomes a single screen, but we didn't feel like we needed to pursue that. That just adds more complexity. I didn't show this in the prototype, but if you choose one of these people at the top who you've transacted with before, it's sort of a simpler process. So here's the amounts you've sent to him in the past. Do you want to do one of those? Okay.
It's kind of like a shortcut.
It's sort of a
transaction.
shortcut. So we did think about how, for more advanced users, we could simplify that transaction flow. But ultimately, again, we were discussing these 2 approaches. You could talk about them all day. We tested both of them just to really just figure out which one should we move forward with. Maybe after additional testing, we'll need to reconsider that.
One of the reasons, so we had a screen that we tested through the prototype testing that was all information on one screen, and you kind of build the transaction row by row. The challenge there was that people didn't intuitively know to click in the field, so they were kind of waiting for that next button to bring them to the next field. They didn't really understand intuitively that you press in a field. So that's where people got a little bit stuck. So it wasn't as intuitive for them. It's not to say, here's the challenge. It's not to say that this design is going to be the right design 5 years down the road, right? That's why this iterative process is so important. You need to constantly be doing testing with your users to see okay, well, maybe our users are now much more sophisticated than they were in 2016. Now it's 2020. People have had smartphones for 4 years. They've been using mobile financial services for 4 years. Now we can do it in one click. No big deal. If you guys have seen the Google Pay app, they have one field. That's it. Just fill in a number. Period. Boom. You're done. That's because users in the US who are using Google Pay have been on smartphones for a decade now. And we all just intuitively know what's going on. And like I said, my 2-year-old godson could probably send money on Google Pay, right? Or use Google Pay. So what works today is not necessarily what's going to work in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years for sure. So this is what made sense right now for this market. But you're going to need to constantly be iterating and revising. And that's the cost of doing technology solutions, right? Technology is constantly speeding up and evolving, and people are keeping up with it. So trade-offs. But we tested both, to your point.